Being a business owner is hard. It's always hard. It never stops being hard, and it only gets harder. Your problems don't disappear, they only get bigger. The more successful you are, the more money you generate, the bigger your team, the more problems you get. I don't need any more cash. I don't need to build another business. I don't feel the need to prove myself. I've got to where I need to be. It's now how can I help other people, the right people. I had no idea whether I was on track to get to where I was heading. So I was just making gut decisions and unknown to me, slowly taking myself off course until I was on the edge of the cliff and just couldn't pull back out of the dive.
Is this true in terms of you had the end in mind? You already knew who you were going to sell to? Welcome to Beyond the Numbers. I'm Bev Wakefield, and this is the podcast where we take the stress out of business finance and break down the numbers in a way that actually makes sense. And today I'm joined by someone who has shaken up an industry that's often known for playing it safe. James Ashford isn't your typical software founder. He's the unapologetically bold voice behind GoProposal, the pricing tool that changed the way accountants and business advisors sell their services. But more than that, James sparked a global conversation about value, confidence, selling to serve, and what we really stand for as professionals. What you might not know is James didn't come from a background of tech or finance. His story includes door-to-door sales, filmmaking, and a drive to build something with real meaning. GoProposal wasn't just a tool, it was a vehicle for change. In this episode, we go beyond the software, beyond the exit, to explore the grit, mindset, and mission that fueled GoProposal movement, and what life looks like on the other side of success. Hi, James.
Hey, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Do you mind if we go back to the beginning? So before perhaps even GoProposal, which you know so well for, and maybe even before MAP and all that kind of side of things, just talk me through James, really.
Yeah, how far back do you actually want to go?
I mean, as far as you want to, yeah.
Right, okay. So I guess I was always an inquisitive person. I was thinking about this last night, like, I was the kid that's like, I'd be saying to my mum, have we finished with this radio yet? We don't seem to use it a lot. I just want to break it apart and understand, like, what are the workings in it, knowing that I could never put it back together again. So just always like an inquisitive kid. I got interested in magic as a kid for the same reasons. Like how does that trick happen? How do you do that? Like, and then wanting to learn it so that I could understand it, but then also pass the magic on as well. So not just through curiosity, but wanting to share the magic. And ultimately, the thing that really drove me was product design. So I loved just making things at school, and then ultimately that's what I went on to university to do, to become a product designer. But again, from the same thing, really, of there are themes that you can connect. Steve Jobs talks about this, which is you don't know why you do things, but when you look back, there's kind of a thread throughout it all. But just that idea of how does this work? How can I make it better? And then making it better, I guess.
That's incredible. So how did all this lead through? Because you've done quite a few different things.
Yeah.
How did all this lead through? So you went through product development at university. What happened straight after uni then? What kind of roles did you get? Because you did a door-to-door sales and everything, didn't you?
All sorts of things. I did a master's degree and then didn't have a job. And then there was a job available at the local prison teaching art. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. So it was very much like Forrest Gump, like just responding to what felt right. Yep. This feels like good energy. So I started teaching art in prisons. And then my mate said, my parents have got a flat free next door to Liam Gallagher and Nicole Appleton in London. Do you want to move to London to be a magician? I'm like, yeah, I'll go there. So I went and did that for a year. And then a friend from school, Becky, that we'd got close while I was away, just as friends though, but we were speaking regular. She said, I want you to move back. I said, I'll only move back if you marry me. She's the only person I'd ever marry. So I moved back. So we got married. So it was just like, it feels right to get married to her. And then did various things and started working back at the prison. And they wanted me to do my teaching degree, if I wanted to, a teaching qualification, sorry. So I started doing my teaching qualification, which was a bit of a frustrating process because I already had a master's degree and now I'm here doing what felt like a lower level, I'm not disrespecting teaching, but it felt like a lower level qualification to be able to teach art in prisons, right? And then I was really struggling to do the exams and these papers that I had to do. I got to the last paper that I had to do and I just really couldn't bring myself to do it. It's like really pissing me off that I had to like do this this essay or whatever it was. And I always had this idea from a young age that I wanted to build a business, because I associated that if you could build a business, you could have freedom, you could earn more money, have more time, that everyone thinks you're going to get when you set up a business, right?
Yeah.
And then you quickly realise that's not the case. But so I knew I wanted to set up a business at some point. So I got to this last paper, and Becky had come down and said, why aren't you just getting on with it? I said, look, I know I'm going to set up a business someday. I just can't bring myself to do this. And she said, look, just get it done, get the qualification, because then if the business doesn't work out, you'll always have something to fall back on. And it was just those words that she said, fall back on. And she walked out the room, and I grabbed up everything and I took it outside and stuck it in a metal bin that we had and just set fire to the lot. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I don't need anything to fall back on.
I love that. So that's like that investing in yourself. You know that you could achieve more as well. And actually it's then going, no, I'm going to follow my intuition. I'm bold. I know that I want to do more, and I'm not having a fallback strategy. There's no plan B.
No. Just the concept of burning the boats. Just remove all, escape routes and just go for the thing you need to go for.
That's amazing. So talk to me about this first business that you set up then. So you've thrown everything in the bin, no plan B. How much pressure did that then put you on? Were you newly married as well at this point? Newly
married, yeah. I don't know if we didn't have kids. I had a stepdaughter, but we didn't have any children of our own. I didn't actually go straight into business. I tried to, and then end up finding myself as a salesperson in another business. And then that business went under. Not because of me, it was connected to the real estate industry, and it was like 2008 when all things started to go wrong.
Yeah.
And then found myself working for a web design agency, and that business was really badly managed, and that business went under as well. And then I thought, I know how to get this right. So I thought, I've got a skill set here around marketing, around websites. So I built a web design agency, and started to make some good traction straight away, and it was a nice little profitable business. But looking back, the first book I read was E-Myth Revisited, in terms of how to systemize your business. I've still got that copy, that well-worn copy. But despite the fact that we had systems in place now, I never really felt it was a business. It was a job with assistants that I had. I never kind of detached myself from the projects. And so I knew it still wasn't quite what I was looking for. And then I started to kind of chase other shiny things and thought, oh, that's a business idea. So I'll get into that, because through a marketing agency, you get to have one-to-one conversations with business owners and business leaders, and you get to see behind the curtain and understand what's going on. So it was a huge educational process for me, because we landed some big clients, and I forged some friendships that I've still got now. So I learned a lot about entrepreneurship through that, a lot about business. But that marketing agency failed as well, because two things. When I did the autopsy afterwards, I became too distracted with other things, chasing other things, thinking that the grass was greener elsewhere. And also the finances of that business, I was just acting on 18-month-old data. You go to see your accountant, and he's like, right, this is what you did last year. I'm like, yeah, all that year ago. Okay, yeah, I think, what do you want me to say? I did. Yeah, I did that. But I'm now trying to make decisions moving forward. And they were on gut instinct, because I didn't have budget or a forecast or monthly management accounts. So I had no idea where I was heading. I had no idea whether I was on track to get to where I was heading. So I was just making gut decisions, and unknown to me, slowly taking myself off course till I was on the edge of the cliff and just couldn't pull back out of the dive.
That's amazing how much you learned, though, from that. And the fact that you looked back and you've done that bit of autopsy in terms of going, well, what were the elements? How did I get kind of railroaded? And actually, we all say now, don't we, as in we know finance cash is king, and actually understanding where you're going forwards. So what was the step then after the web agency?
Yeah. So I was involved with some other businesses as well, and I just cut everything off. I did another burn the boats exercise and just removed everything. And I remember the liquidators, when they came into that business, they said, it's such a shame to liquidate this business because you had so much right. And I felt I had a lot right. But there were obviously some blind spots that I had and some bits missing. So I just started to study at that point. So I started to read, but not read out of interest, but read like I'd gone back to school to study this stuff. I've got all my notebooks from then, so I can see what my mindset was like at that point. So I was devouring the best content I could get, smashing a book a week, but really like breaking it down, writing notes, understanding how I was going to apply this to a business. So really learning from the very best people in business as I saw. Tony Robbins, I've been to his event and that had changed my life. I then took his business mastery course and that was just unbelievable. And I started to hit on things that I thought, I think this would really impact the way that businesses operate from a marketing perspective, a sales perspective, systemization, how to build a team, how to kind of implement core values and define the culture. I started really learning about all this stuff. And from the marketing agency, I'd forged some strong friendships with business owners, and they still trusted me to go and work with them. And I was able to take these strategies, they were just ideas at the time, to say, right, what happens if we review your sales process and put this in there, or if we change your culture here? And I started to kind of work as a consultant, and it became a playground that I could take all of these ideas and test and how to kind of impact these businesses and achieve results. And what I found was I was achieving quite seismic results in short spaces of time by implementing these strategies, and some were in big businesses.
It's almost like you were prototyping. You were almost getting ready for your launch then, but actually being able to test those in a safe space on a business that was working, that trusted you,
that paid me to do it,
that paid you to do it.
Yeah,
and then you could still see that significant growth, so you could then go, right, actually I know that when I go into my business next, I can apply all of this.
That's right. So one of the big turning points was a friend of mine. He had a waste management business that was doing about 15 million at the time. So I started working with them to review their sales process, and they were struggling to sign up new account customers. So they're big, huge clients. And they were signing about 8 or 9 clients a month. So I said, right, I'm going to review the sales process. But the thing is that in business, everything's connected. So you can't say, I'm going to solve sales and I'm going to sort this bit out, because that's connected to the marketing, that's connected to the culture of the business. Like if you can implement the best strategy, but if you've got someone there who's resistant to it, or the culture's not right to embrace, it's not going to happen. So everything has to be kind of corrected. The mindset of the person, you could give someone the best sales strategy, but if the founder doesn't believe they're good enough, or if someone doesn't believe that their offering is good enough or whatever, it won't work. They'll put up roadblocks to it. So I was aware of the mindset, did a small culture piece and to kind of get that right, and then ultimately reviewed the sales process to make it as efficient as possible. How do we go from here to there? Why have you got these steps in there? Why is that needed? And we just strip things out. A lot of businesses, what they'll do is things become bloated, processes become bloated, because what will happen is something will have gone wrong at some point. So for not to get too much into the weeds of this, but in order to sign up a new account customer, they had to do a credit check.
Yeah.
Occasionally the credit check failed. And so they then wanted references from other accounts that you've opened, other trade accounts that you've got. So as part of their sales process, you had to go and get 2 references from 2 other trade accounts that you've already opened. Well, this is a nightmare, because now I've got to print out, I've got no ink cartridges, I've got to order ink cartridges off Amazon, I've got to print, drive places, get references and stuff. And I said to them, can I just ask, like, why do you get references? And they said, we had this one client and the credit check failed and we took them on anyway, and then we ended up losing a load of money. Okay. How often do credit checks fail? And they're like 1 in 40 times. I'm okay. So you're punishing 39 customers for the sake of that one customer who's probably anyway, and you should probably just get rid of, right? So, but you can see how that can happen, that some mistakes happened, someone's maybe got a bit of a roasting for it, so you've put something in place that was maybe only temporary, and before you know it, you've got all this bloat in a process that is just unnecessary, and it needs someone from the outside to say, you don't need that, that can be shortened, let's put some tech in here, get rid of that person, change this mindset. And all of a sudden, within 30 days, we'd gone from opening 8 or 9 new accounts to 50 or 60, between 50 and 60 new accounts. It was 56, actually. I remember this precise number. And they just grew from there, and then ultimately exited. So that was the first time that I realised that actually what I'm doing works. I worked with a local football guy. He was just running some classes. I showed him how to systemize and turn it into a franchise. Within 18 months, he'd gone from 75 grand a year to 750 grand a year within 18 months. So I started to develop a belief in what I was doing by just looking at these businesses in different ways.
And that's really interesting that you've just gone back to, because we were talking about this earlier in terms of failures. Like, we might do a failure, but as long as we learn from it and actually perhaps update the systems. But you're right, that can create such a cumbersome system that actually in that instance it should be triggered only in the event of the credit check failing, rather than for the other 39 people in that instance as well.
But it's hard when you're in it, like you're in the woods, like you need someone like hovering over, like you're in the woods trying to meander your way through things, and you just need someone to fly over and say, hang on a minute, just turn left there, we can cut this process. Or you think you have to do something. So like, when we'll get into this later, but like with the accounting process, with the sales process there, like, where does AML come into the process? Because it doesn't need to come in where people thought it had to come in. So you can challenge that. But if you've been trained in that and you believe in it, you need someone who's creative to say, actually, we could remove that bit of friction there, and we could put the friction further up here and get people to the point where they've got the card out of the pocket faster.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. So does this bring us to the point of GoProposal? What year did you launch GoProposal then?
End of 2016.
2016.
We built it and then launched in February of 2017.
Okay. So you spent all that kind of time getting ready, perfecting, getting the process nailed?
Yeah, 2 years working in different businesses, whether it was a plastering business, waste management business, garden design agency, just solving this problem. Because if you can bring sales in quicker, if you can sell more to existing customers, if you can increase your prices, if you can convert at a higher rate, if you can get more people in your business selling, if you can give more value to customers, if you can do them bits, you can solve 99% of the problems in your business. Like, most problems in your business are the fact that you're not charging enough, not making enough money, not in control of your clients, giving services away for free, discounting, and all this shit. So if you can solve that, most of the other problems that you think are problems drop away. And this is the difference between surface problems and core problems. So most people are addressing surface problems and wondering why they keep emerging, but it's a core problem. It's like you've got a crack in the building and you keep plastering over the crack and it just keeps re-emerging. It's because the foundations are dodgy. Like, let's grow into foundations, let's fix this, and you can now build whatever you want on top of it, So that's
interesting. No, because there's something about the time there, isn't there? And you see this all the time. You can see this in just day to day sometimes, where we'll surface level go, oh, it only takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But actually, if I take 20 minutes today,
yeah,
I can solve the fact that I don't even need to spend 5 minutes each week anymore, or it's 1 minute instead.
Yeah.
And actually, that cumulative impact of it, of getting, again, either to the core, to the foundations, or even just spending the right time at the right point to drive forwards.
But it's hard to do that though, Bev, because if you imagine foundations, they're dirty, they're underground, there's no progress. So if you want to go sort foundations out, you can't see anything moving forward. And so it's not sexy, not appealing. But it's this idea of growing into foundations. So the businesses that I've worked with since then, with my own business, like, there's times you grow and you build, and then there's times you've got to grow into foundations. And you have to do this as you keep growing up. If you just keep adding on, you create something that's quite vulnerable that that could topple down, that could fall down. So worked with different businesses and solved the problems. Then I was invited to a mastermind group, which sounds like a name, and it is kind of is. But basically, it was this guy, and he wanted to join a mastermind group, and it was going to be however many tens of thousands a year to be involved in this group. And what he concluded was, if I just bring like 5 or 6 people that I know to a meeting every quarter, and I'll pay for the hotel, I'll pay for the food, I'll bring them together. I forged my own mastermind group. So I did that. And one of the people that was invited to that was Paul Barnes from my accountancy place. Yeah. So I hate running. And one morning I said, right, we'll all go for a run. 6 a.m. guys, come on, get up and go for a run. And he turned up and he can run. Okay. So I was like just exhausted. But anyway, so I started to get to know him. And only after a few times of meeting there, I said, would you want me to come? And look, I'm looking for a new accountant. Why don't I come and see you guys, and I can review your process in the, as I'm doing it, and I can give you some honest feedback. It's a really valuable thing to do this, and it was one of the big breakthroughs really throughout the onboarding process and throughout the sales process, because what I did was I gave him candid feedback at every moment, just by a WhatsApp message, saying, hey, I've been waiting 2 days for this. I need you to understand how I'm feeling right now, how this has made me feel. So no one will give you that insight. So something could be happening and you don't know what's going on. You don't understand why a customer's getting pissed off with you. And it's because you don't have that feedback. So I went to see them and reviewed their process. And then it was through that review that GoProposal emerged.
That's incredible. So was that at the same time? Because did you join my accountancy place as well, Matt, as a director, weren't you as well? Is that right?
Yeah, not at the start. So I reviewed the sales process, and I remember him saying to me, like, I went and gave him all this feedback and basically said his sales process is shit. If that was what I said to him.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but we're better than everyone else. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not comparing you to everyone else.
No.
I'm comparing you to anyone I want. And this is a thing that business owners have a difficulty with, is that you will judge other businesses and through your own lens, but then for some reason you don't think that you will be judged through the same lens back at you, and you think it's unfair. So the example I give is like, let's say you're going to watch a film on Netflix. So you load up Netflix, you click it, and it's not there, and you're like, for fuck's sake, I've got to log out of Netflix, and I've got to go on Amazon Prime and spend $4.99 buying it on here. It's going to take me 60 seconds. And you're like furious, right? And then a customer is annoyed with you because you've taken a week to send them a proposal, and you're like, this customer, they're just so impatient, they need to wait. Like, but you're not. You're impatient. So why on earth do you think it's reasonable for a customer to wait for a week to get a proposal? Because it's not acceptable. And that was where it started really with my accountancy place. I'm like, yeah, you've taken a week to get me a proposal, but it needs to be done during the meeting. I gave you my time. Because if, let's say I come to have a meeting with you now, right? So let's say this was a proposal meeting. And I get to the end of the meeting and I'm like, right, okay, brilliant. Where do I sign?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'll send you a proposal through. Oh, okay, whatever. So I've now left. Well, I know what's in store for the rest of the afternoon. It's hectic for me. I've got a meeting in Derby. I've got to get to see my cousin. We've got a situation that I need to sort out there. Tomorrow, my daughter's, at 6 a.m, I've got my friends coming over for the gym. I've got my daughter's athletics event there. I'm off to see a farm on Sunday. Like, my week's hectic, right?
Yeah.
So what you're going to do at some point is try and ring me, and you're not going to get hold of me. You would not believe how much I ignore people, even my mum, right? And I'm cool with ignoring people, because if I reply to everyone, I would just go out of my mind. So you could literally have to ring me 10 or 20 times to get hold of me. But somewhere in that process, you'll stop ringing me and you'll conclude that it's because I don't want to move forward with you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's got nothing to do with that. It's because you have my attention here, you missed the chance, now I'm just busy with other shit. I'm busy getting on with life. Like, the kids are on holiday at the moment. If you've got kids, just getting kids to school with most of the shit they need that day and then to after school clubs is an achievement, right? So if I've done that in a day, I'm buzzing. Yeah. So if you think you're going to get hold of me as well and we're going to sort of propose, like, it's not happening. So I sorted that process out so that rather than it take a week to get a proposal to me and then have all the pain of chasing, during the meeting, we could agree the fees very simply, sign the proposal, sign the engagement letter, trigger the payment mechanism, and I leave that meeting with you having a new client, a new direct debit mandate set up, an engagement letter signed, a proposal letter signed, and a start date for when you're going to onboard me, rather than leaving that meeting with you having a headache of sending a proposal to me. That was the difference.
There's so much that I resonate with that. But also the comparison. I say this so many times in terms of, it's like Amazon. Amazon have set kind of customer expectations in terms of, we're now expecting delivery next day.
Yeah.
We're expecting potentially delivery on the same day, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's the bit where sometimes I've remember people saying, sometimes going, yeah, but we're quite good. Like, we are quite good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but what you're comparing to. And it's that really interesting point that we are all... Yeah, we're all comparing, but based on service levels being exceptional.
And you know what? Quite good is not good enough.
No.
And it's okay if you are good. If you want to be good, that's fine. But you have to understand the results you get back. So if you're good, you get poor results back, okay? And people can't handle that, and it frustrates them. If you're great, you get good results. If you're excellent, you get great results. So you always get the level down from the effort that you put in. That's how this universe works, until you get to outstanding. Only at the level of outstanding do you get outstanding results. And the best analogy is Usain Bolt. So Usain Bolt, I remember when I did this exercise years ago, at the time, compared to Johan Blake and Tyson Gay, who would always come second at the time, and I know that money's not everything, But Usain Bolt was worth 30 million. Tyson Gay, Johan Blake, they're all worth 2 million each.
Yeah.
Okay. So Usain Bolt was outstanding at what he did. He got outstanding results. Johan Blake and Tyson Gay, they were excellent at what they did. They got great results. Okay. Do you know what the difference in their time was? 100th of a second.
Wow.
To be outstanding, you don't have to be yards ahead of people or, hours ahead of people. You just have to be ahead of everybody else. And that's the goal to aim for.
I love that. So bringing that into GoProposal.
Yeah. So we developed a piece of tech. We changed the mindset of the firm so that the premise of what we developed was a piece of technology. We had to change the culture because at the time, Paul was the only person in the firm that could produce a proposal. Yet I've got everyone on the team dealing with clients on a day-to-day basis where clients are making requests for things. So they have to be able to sell. If you go to, the analogy is if you go to a restaurant and you want to order a complicated meal for a huge table, you could pick any waiter or waitress, a junior waiter or waitress, and I could order that meal with side orders, with this missing or with that added on, and they could sell me that meal without having to go and bother the head chef to figure out what to charge for it. Okay.
Yeah.
An accountancy firm, the way it's designed, is that no one except the head chef can price. The busiest person in the building with the most responsibilities is the only person that can price the services, which is wild. And everyone thinks this, but it's complicated and it has to be bespoke. No. You're only going through a process in your head. I can unpack it, we can figure it out, and we can systemize it. So we did that with Paul, and he'd already really understood how to price accounting services in a great way. But one of the principles of GoProposal was the most junior member of the team should be able to price and sell the most complicated client. We have to be able to do it during the meeting. And it was those two principles that just switched everything. There were already two other proposal software companies in the market. One of them was that had 7 years head start on us, $26 million of investment. They got another $50 million of investment throughout our growth. And we beat them. And we beat them because we had the fundamental principle that they'd just missed was a lot stronger. And so we developed that for my accountancy place. Another accountancy firm heard about it and said, how do we get that? And that was the spark I was looking for, this thing that from being a young age, I was kind of trying to find this $1 million idea effectively. I saw it in that moment. So we very cheaply built the software. It cost me $4,000 to get it off the mark, to get to a minimal viable product to be able to sell it. And while that was being built, which took 2 or 3 months to build the software, I knew how to market it. So I wrote a book called Selling to Serve in the time.
Read it.
So while that was the first version of it, it became a lot better further down the line, which hopefully you've read the better one. But I got a book so I could start doing the marketing, set up a waiting list, which Daniel Priestley advocates, like don't launch the product, launch the waiting list. So I had people that were reading the book, I had people on the waiting lists. By the time the product was launched, within a month, we had 100 people signed up for it.
That's amazing. But what was the biggest challenge then? So when you set out, so you'd gone, I've proved the principle, I know that this works, I've got people wanting it, I've now got a waiting list. I mean, you've done this all right, but being a business owner is pretty tough at times. Was there that kind of challenging moment when you set up?
Being a business owner is hard. It's always hard. It never stops being hard, and it only gets harder. That's the first thing just to accept, which is a tough pill to swallow. Your problems don't disappear, they only get bigger. And the more successful you are, the more money you generate, the bigger your team, the more problems you get, and you've just got to suck that up and deal with it. So there's no one moment, I don't think, where it was hard. There were certainly some challenges along the way. To start with, it was just, I was still doing some consulting work and started this business, and I was doing everything in it. Yeah. So I had an external developer, but I designed the app and how it would work. I was doing all of the marketing. I could do a video. I could do a short form video of some educational content. I could edit it, create a blog post on the website, post it on social media within an hour, and have it in an email sequence, and the email launched and sent within an hour. That's how I got it. I had to be as efficient as I could be. And people have this idea of perfection. People pursue perfectionism because they're afraid of people of criticism. You've got to just get it out the door fast. People underestimate speed. Speed's a hugely important thing in business. So we would I'd get moving fast. I was doing all of the customer support, all of the website. I was doing everything.
Yeah.
So I had to get to a point quickly where I could employ the first person but I still I was carrying this fear of my previous business that had failed financially. So I wanted to make sure we had enough money coming in so I could now pay the next person to start working. So those early days and anyway, I posted an advert out, and my mate rang me, a really good friend of mine, and he said, you can take your advert down, I've got you the person. I said, who is it? He said, it's Jack. And I'm like, yes, Jack would be brilliant. So Jack was from Doncaster, went to my school, really good friends with my friend. He'd done work experience for me in the marketing agency, solid guy. He was living near Bristol. Is Chelmsford near Bristol?
Pass. No.
Is it not? Is that in Essex?
Yes.
What's the place that begins with a ch near there? Cheltenham. He lived in Cheltenham. That was it.
There we go. I don't know how I got to that.
But his girlfriend, who now wife, was from Manchester. So he was moving to Manchester.
Right.
So he was on his way. And I just thought, this is the perfect person, because one of the fears of early hiring is the unknown element of them. You know, you don't know somebody based on a CV. You can't know somebody. I knew the guy, and I knew I could teach the skills. So we got him in. And some of these were like happy accidents, but because I couldn't afford an office at the time, but we were working with my accountancy place, he took a desk within the accountancy firm. Nice. So GoProposal he was surrounded by accountants. Perfect. So if he had a question of someone saying, but how does you handle bookkeeping transactions? He'd be like, 1 second, go and speak to Will about bookkeeping transactions and come and do it. So because it was immersed in with one of our customers, our primary customer, it meant that he evolved so fast. And then when I set up GoProposal, to answer your previous question, I gave Paul 10% of the business because it was inspired through his business in exchange for 10% of my accountancy place. So that was another happy accident, because accountants don't like outsiders from the industry. Like, you believe that because I'm not an accountant, how can I possibly know how your world works, right? So, but now when I was talking or delivering content, I could say, as the director of an accountancy firm. So it was my
gave
back
a bit more credibility as well for that perhaps industry, our niche industry, shall I say. Okay, so lots of struggles. So there wasn't really a hardest part in kind of setting up, other than perhaps going, I need that financial cushion that I know that I'm going to feel a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. You've managed to recruit someone in Jack that actually you know that you're going to be able to trust. So you've kind of hit the ground running to a certain extent.
There was, I think, like, because it's a recurring revenue model business. And you had to get to 10 grand a month. 10 grand a month freed lots of things up, which was great. One of the things was we developed the app, and I had my developer that I was working with. And once we developed it, he said, right, I'm only available now on Wednesday afternoons. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, I've got all these ideas I want to implement. I'm like, that's not going to work for me. So, well, that's all I've got. I said, but what if we have a problem with the app? He said, if there's a problem, like there's a serious issue, and we listed out what a serious issue was, I'll jump on it anytime. Like Sunday evening, not a problem. But for development of the app, new features and stuff, you got Wednesday afternoon. I'm like, It turned out to be the best thing. Because what it meant was I had to prioritize what were we fixing stuff this week, or were we developing new features. Had I had free reign, I would have put all these crazy ideas into it, and it would have become a big problem. So he kept the finances tight, kept the development tight. But then I always remember, I don't know why, 18 grand was a sticking point. We just couldn't get past 18 grand a month. So we'd go up it and then lose clients, and get up it, and we just bobbled about at this point. For a long time. I always remember 53 grand was another sticking point, but 18 grand was our first sticking point. And what people do is they think, right, what do I need to do differently to get past this moment? Like I'm hitting a ceiling for some reason. What is it that I need to do in order to be able to have greater revenue? But it's not the right question. The right question to be asking is, who do I need to be in order to be able to do what we need to do? Like, what do I need to let go of? Maybe is the issue here. Maybe I'm holding on too much, or I'm not trusting Jack enough to try this, or whatever it may be. So I learned that when I do hit these sticking points, the question to ask, so it's the idea of be, do, have. Like you want to have something, so you have to do something, but it starts with who do I need to be in order to achieve that.
Amazing. That sounds quite a journey. And I think, I mean, my next kind of thought was going, what changed everything? But I think I've already understand that in terms of a mindset or a decision, or there's so much. And you were saying that thread that you've had throughout, from being inquisitive about that radio that you were deconstructing as a child, through to product development, to saying, no, you know what, I don't want a plan B, to going in as a consultant and going, I've got, these people have got problems, I've already researched, I've delved deep.
Yeah.
You're constantly evolving yourself in a way.
Yeah.
And then you get to GoProposal and you've almost got all that learned experience and a customer that you're working on and developing. You've got such a great focus.
Yeah.
And I did watch your John Warlow podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Is this true in terms of you had the end in mind? You already knew who you were going to sell to?
Yeah, yeah.
Or 5 perhaps potentials?
Yeah, so as soon as we got the business set up, we brought a financial planner in, and he did a financial plan exercise with my wife. So one of the issues that I had with the previous business wasn't just that it had failed financially, it was that my wife didn't know what was going on in it. Yeah. So she didn't know the decisions I made. She was a nurse, like she didn't give a shit, but she needs to know enough to know that the decisions are solid and not affecting the family. Like I'd taken a loan out against the house, and we had to remortgage the house and stuff like that. So it wasn't I was trying to hide things from her, but I just didn't know about like transparency and things. So the financial planner came in, and the first thing he did was he got Becky and I aligned. So even things like we didn't have a joint bank account, we were with different banks. So we set up a joint bank account. We understood what our monthly outgoings were. We had our individual accounts. The money we'd earn would come in. Then it would all go into the joint account. We'd retain a small amount of spendos each a month. So do what you want with that.
Money.
But the rest of it, everything is taken care of. Every bill, every Christmas, every birthday, everything is there. So Becky doesn't have to say to me, it's come to Christmas, have we got enough money to be able to do this? We'd already agreed what money's set aside for Christmas. So it was there. So she had independence, although I was the one going and she was earning as a nurse and I was earning through the business. But she had the independence to be able to go and know that we'd agreed that amount, so she could go and do whatever she needed to do. She didn't have to ask me anything. So got us on the same page personally and financially, which I think is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. And then we also did a financial planning exercise, say, right, how much money do we need to sell this business for that would give us the life that we'd want to never have to work again? And
Freedom number. We were talking about this yesterday. Sorry.
And it was £5 million.
Yeah.
If you can get to 5 million, like you'd have to do a lot wrong to then burn through that. So 5 million was the goal. And so then once you had that, it was then, right, okay, well, what revenue would we have to get to be able to achieve that amount, and who would be the likely businesses to buy us? So ideally, you're trying to find a strategic acquirer, because then if you're being acquired strategically, and you can advance their roadmap faster by them acquiring you, or you can give them more credibility or a new product range or a new customer base or whatever, that is going to bump the multiple up even further from whatever if you sold it to like private equity or something like that. So I outlined all the businesses that it could be, which was Receipt Bank, Xero, Sage or QuickBooks. And then beneath them all, so then I had our logo, GoProposal, and beneath it I put a QuickBooks company, a Sage company, a Xero company, and I put them all out and changed our colour logo to be one of them. Now, the bet I went for that I thought we're most aligned to, just because it was with my accountancy space we used them, was Xero.
Yeah.
So my accountancy space was Xero. We're very aligned. They were cool kids on the block. And so the blue of GoProposal is the exact blue of that. So I kind of, although I edged my bets, I lent it towards Xero.
A Xero company.
Didn't sell it to them.
You didn't?
No.
No. And how's that process gone in terms of, because obviously now you're post-exit, a great multiple that you achieved in GoProposal, and that's credit to all those systems and processes and struggles and challenges and everything that you went through, but having that clear end game. Yeah. How's life been on the other side? Yeah,
so I'm just going to backtrack just a slight bit. So we were very intentional about what could boost the multiple up. So we were very intentional on the way. We never took any investment, which is a key thing. And we forged strong partnerships with all of these businesses. People talk about manifesting and they think, I'm going to manifest my result that I want. And I think manifesting is sitting there going hum and attracting it. Manifesting, if you look at the definition, means to grab hold of something very firmly. And so if you want to manifest that and think that one of these businesses could buy us, well, you've got to start forging relationships with those. You've got to think how you can benefit them now. So I went and spoke on we'd go to their events and exhibit. We'd forge relationships with different people within those businesses. I would speak at their events, produce content with them, do webinars with them, like do as much as I could to forge strong relationships so as many people knew about us as possible. And then we were getting towards the point that we thought we could get the valuation, and then we were doing a partnership deal, with a company. They wanted to give us some sales. I've explained that really badly. They wanted to do a deal with us where they were going to give us some sales in exchange for some commission. That was what the crack was.
Yeah.
So they knew what our profit margin was. They knew what the crack was. So we spent weeks and weeks figuring out this deal structures, how it was going to work. So their sales guys were going to sell our product. We were going to give them a commission back, and it worked. They came and presented it to me, and it was so one-sided that they benefited from. I'm like, we're going to lose money if you do this. Like, this was meant to be a win-win. This is massive win for you, massive loss for us. And they're like, okay, well, it's just a starting point. We can negotiate from here. I went, no, it's not. You can f off. Like, we entered this with the right intentions. I'm not exploring this any further with you. We're done. And this was a massive company. And they went, okay, could we talk about buying you instead then? I'm like, okay, we can have that conversation. So we started, they went, how much do you want for it? I said, I just played it coy and went, well, I'll word it differently. How much would your wife agree to you accepting for this? So I'm like, so
That's the right question.
Anyway, we kept it. We didn't tell them. And then they offered us an amount that was more than we were hoping for. And then another company made an offer, and then another company, and then it all fizzled to nothing over like the Christmas period. And then I decided, right, maybe now is the right time for us to sell. We didn't need to. We had a huge roadmap ahead of us. We're very excited, very passionate about what we're doing. But I thought, for the sake of my family, for the sake of my team and everyone, for the sake of my customer base, like it was getting bigger than anything I'd ever built before. So that you always worry, like, where could this go wrong? Where could it fall down? Mm-hmm. So we then approached an M&A company. We took it to market. They approached all of our kind of dream list. And then 2 companies, we did 6 management presentations, 2 made us offers, and we accepted the slightly lower offer, but there was the right culture fit for us, and we sold to Sage.
That's amazing. So you, at that point, you obviously, whilst you manifested, you knew where you were going, you knew your customers, not customers, but purchaser.
Yeah.
You weren't actually ready at that point to sell.
No, we weren't. But I remember
But it was risk on, risk off, I guess.
it was, but I'd also made a promise to my wife that if we can get over this amount, we'll sell it. Like, that was the deal. And I met, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So I'm a huge fan of Gary V, right? And so I paid to have a 15-minute call with him. It cost me $4,000, this call, right? But I had 2 questions. One was around marketing. So we were struggling with marketing at the time, in that Morgan had a marketing plan that was based on structured webinars and events, and everything was very formal, and it was all rolled out with a plan and stuff. And then Dick would just turn up like, right, well, I'm posting this today, I'm putting that out. So it was like, who's right? What's the strategy? And he just said, he only gave me 2 answers for these. And when I wrote them down, I'm like, I've got my money's worth. And he said, why does it have to be or? Why can't it be and? I'm like, yeah, brilliant, thank you. Tick. So then we just both did our own thing, and it worked after that. And the other one was, look, I've built this business to this point. This is the type of numbers that people are now offering us. It's more than we got to, but we're, we've not even cracked America yet. We've not even cracked Australia. We're doing great in the UK. We've just launched another product, which was Oversweet, that we just developed. There was a new product that was out there. My book's now become a best-selling book. We're looking to get it translated into different languages. We're starting to move into European countries. Like, there's so much ahead of us. What would you recommend? And he said, I know what you think I'm going to say to you, which is to hustle and go for it, because that's what I'm famous for, but I'm not. Sell the business, get the money, cash out at this point here, take a breather, and go again from that level and from that platform and build bigger next time. And I'm like, thank you. So for someone who's all about the hustle and the grind and go for it and, you know, take it as far as you can and all this stuff, he was the person that just gave me the most sensible answer and just confirmed what I wanted to do. So we went at that point.
But you'd hit your freedom number.
We'd hit the freedom number. We knew we were over the freedom number because what people were talking about. And then when we came to sell, we got significantly more than that freedom number.
And that's it again, isn't it? Because we talk a lot about people's end game, and you forget that GoProposal has been sold to Sage because that's their starting line. It might have been your finishing line in this instance, but you knew where you wanted to go. You'd already got the markets, and that's why your multiple was so great, because you'd already gone, well, I can take this to America, you can translate, and also you're a key person of influence and you're in that industry as well, in terms of the accountancy industry. I'm pretty sure if I mentioned your name to any accountant, they'd know who you are.
Yeah.
And you have got that kind of following. But all that's brand assets, isn't it? And coming back to Daniel Priestley again, you built something so much more with your voice and GoProposal.
For sure, yeah. And yeah, thank you for recognising that. And yeah, what we've done is everything I've been turned into assets. So although I was there, it was about now how do we turn me into assets? So video assets. We've got the book, we've got the audio version of the book. And now, especially with AI, all those the book's been translated into Spanish, French, German, and now with all the videos as well, hours of video content using AI can be translated into different languages with lip synced with my voice, so it looks like I'm speaking French, German, whatever. So there were so many assets that were now created that were sold as part of the business offering that it doesn't need me. I was completely removed from the business throughout that last year, which is so critical because throughout the sales process, which was like an 8-month process, the sales process, 100% of my time was on the sale of the business. I was waking up at anywhere between 3:30 and 4:30 every morning to get this over the line. Like in my garage, I had what the milestones were, where at any moment, at any of their milestones, this sales process could end. Your dream life, what you perceive as your dream life, is at the other side of this. I've got to drag this now and get this over the line, and I've got to get it over each of these hurdles. But any moment it could stop. So 100% of my time was on it. My operations director, 50% of her time was on this. And because the team knew they were joining a business to sell, and the team knew we were selling. Like I wanted them, they'd been very instrumental in the growth of the business. I wanted them to feel comfortable throughout the sales process. So although they didn't know who we were selling to or the amount or anything, every stage I consulted with them and said, right, this is the next phase of this process. What concerns, what worries have you got? What do you want raising? And it was really unusual for the people who were buying us to them to know that our team knew that we were selling. But it turned out to be, again, another great gift because they were able to come into certain meetings. I could bring the developers into meetings to explain things, and they got to understand the team and how they work. So it was really key. But the point being is that if you've not fully removed yourself from the business and it's running without you, not only running without you, this is the key bit, it's a phrase that people use, has to grow without you. Has to be able to take on new staff, innovate, take on new systems and processes without you. Because throughout the 8-month process, I remember we got to August, we got to September, we were about to close the deal, and they went, just before we close, we just want to see August figures and make sure they're still on track. So they wanted to see that everything was progressing and that the growth in August was exactly what we'd said it would be, despite the fact that I had not been involved in that business, and they needed to see that. I think I was living my dream life when I was growing GoProposal. I think that's probably like the happiest and most fulfilled I felt. And then you set this goal of achieving an amount of money, and you think that all your dreams are going to come true, and you set that as like the destination. And I got it. Like we got the first installment, over £10 million hit the bank, which is like a lottery win. Like you've just had the lottery win of your life. And for that day, it felt amazing. And then the next day, I woke up and I thought, I don't feel any different. And I don't know what I expected to feel like. I expected something to have shifted in me. And then it invites the question, well, what are you actually looking for? What do you think's missing that you thought that was going to give you? And then you get this amazing thing, and you sold your business. And I hit a downer, and I've talked about this. People can go and listen to this stuff, but what you have to acknowledge, and what I didn't acknowledge is, although you've gained this incredible thing, this life-changing thing that any of my ancestors, grandparents, parents would have, given limbs to achieve this thing, there is also loss as well. You've lost your team, you've lost your purpose, you've lost your mission, your drive, all of those things, significance, all that gets lost. And you have to acknowledge that to then understand this. And also the other thing is to realise that in and of itself, this is nothing, monetary wealth is one thing, but there are so many other types of wealth, physical wealth, relationship wealth, spiritual wealth, fulfilment wealth, like the contribution wealth. There's all these other things. And if you pile them up, money's at the bottom of that pile. I'm not saying don't go for it. Money facilitates those things and enables you to do more of it and to do more faster. But to make it the master and to make that the goal and think it's going to give you something was my mistake. And we trained that you should do this, that you're chasing this thing and that all your dreams will come true and you get there. And it didn't. So it's taken me a couple of years to adjust. It's 2 years to adjust to this and to adjust to the second half of my life, as it's been termed, and to get the right people around me to help. Like I've had to assemble a team to help me to navigate this. And I'm just starting to figure out. Yeah. I'm just starting to get back there. What happens is the money comes in and you think, right, this will solve all my problems. And it did. It solved all of my immediate problems and created a load more that were far bigger than anything I had before. And you can't say it to anyone because they're like, well, swap my problems for your problems. I'm like, if you knew, you actually wouldn't. I promise you wouldn't. No. There is an adjustment period. And there's also a big shift in between making money and managing money. They're two different skills. So you have to have the right people to help you to not the next bit, really.
That's the whole Kahneman study, isn't it? So we were looking at that on an episode as well, in terms of going, actually, a certain amount of income does create happiness, in terms of, I think it was 60, 75,000 pounds a year or something like that. Yeah. But beyond that, it does just come with more challenges, more issues, and actually, it gives you better purchasing power. Yeah. But unless your happiness was at a certain level before as well, and you've just gone through that thing where you've now disconnected from friends, which were colleagues, your sense of purpose, which is huge in terms of even thinking of your hierarchy of needs, and then gone, okay, now what's happening now?
And now you think you can make loads of decisions. I've got freedom to make decisions. Well, that comes with burden as well. Mm. So before, our kids went to the same school that me and Becky went to, okay? Because it was on the school run. Like we lived on the bush route. They had to go to that school. There's no other option. A state school, that was it. Well, now they don't. Now we can move them to this school or to that school or to this school, or we could move house to another school, or we could move to another country. So if their education was wrong before, it wasn't on me. It was because there was no other choice. If their education is wrong now, it's entirely on me, because I can now make a decision. So with freedom also comes the burden of decision, because now I can get wrong. And so, and when you magnify that over everything from where you live to where your children go to school to what you choose to do next, and other things that you make, there is stresses coming with that. I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm not being ungrateful. I'm hugely grateful for the position that I am in, but there's a learning period. My point being is the money doesn't hit and then it's like all rainbows and everything. There is certainly a dip, because you get to the top of that mountain and you realise, this isn't even the mountain I should be climbing. And now you have to just go down and to get back up the mountain that you realise you should be on. So I've got, I think, to about there, I think.
Nice. You're slowly summiting to the next mountain and the next challenge.
Yeah, or maybe there isn't another mountain. Maybe it's just to accept that it's now just it's maybe a slight incline that we're just moving up. And to also, this is the thing I've enjoyed over the last couple of years, is bringing other people up the mountain as well. So working with people for fun in most cases, but to bring them on their journeys as well. And that's where I've got a lot of fulfilment that's helped me to kind of navigate these last few years.
And I know there's a staggering stat, and I'm sure John Warlow probably commented, it's like 70% of businesses do regret selling.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't regret at all. It was always the goal, and everyone benefited. We benefited. Every team member was part of that got cut into the deal as well. So every team member benefited, some of them in big ways, which was a wonderful offering from Sage as part of that as well. All of our family got to benefit. We got to ease all of the financial pressures across all of our family, you know. So it would have been hugely selfish for me to not have done it, and you know, lots of people got to benefit from what we did. So I don't regret it. There has been some loss, but I can now rebuild that in other forms. So it's just trying to figure out what that is that I need to do.
And maybe having that, it's almost there is that something to go, actually, are you ready? Are you ready for exit? Actually starting to think about that side of it. You're so focused on the exit and 100% of your time was on it.
Yeah.
Actually kind of starting to go, well, actually, where's my social circles outside? What am I focusing on post this? What's my next endeavour? What's my next challenge? Which we don't always think about, do we? We just think about the summit.
We don't. And going back to that wealth thing, if you think of money at the bottom of all those different types of wealth, that I'd got there, and when I got there, it was at the top. You know, my health wasn't as good, my fitness wasn't as good. I'd not spoke to friends for years in some cases. Like I started to remember friends that I'd just not spoken to. So I started to rekindle those friendships. I think the bit I did get right was with my family and with my kids. Like I took my kids to and from school every single day, and I was very present, not always mentally present, but physically present for my kids. And this is the thing, I hear all these gurus out there talking about businesses and what you should do and stuff. I'm like, if you've not got kids, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if you've got, we had 2 young kids at the time, and my startup business, that's 3 startups I've got. Right, that I'm dealing with. And kids don't care if you're stressed, if you're poorly, if you're hungover, whatever. They want their stuff and they want you to help them, you know. So I'm just in admiration of anyone with children and building businesses. And I don't think they necessarily stop to recognise what they're actually doing and how many startups they've actually got.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? I think Daniel Priestley did a post about that as well, in terms of going actually, and then you go, oh, okay, yes. Yeah,
most of the best stuff I say I have robbed directly from Daniel Priestley. I try to credit him where I can. But
you two are well connected now, though, aren't you?
Great.
Yeah, it's great. So we've talked even about what actually works, haven't you? I think that habits and that mindset has kind of run throughout. So it's perhaps not having a plan B.
Yeah.
And having that real focus, even down to focus on the developer because you knew what it needed to happen, the focus on the culture, the focus on the sales process.
For sure, yeah.
Have I summarised that in the best way in terms of what actually worked? So if you were looking back now, what's one mindset or habit or tactic decision that you'd almost attribute what's moved the needle forward for you?
Yeah, I think we're all looking for that as entrepreneurs. We think, what's that one thing that's going to kind of cause the avalanche to happen? And I don't think there's necessarily any one thing. It's like you do this or you change this belief and it causes a bit more progression and then you keep moving forward. But I do think one thing happened when I was younger that has been really instrumental with the way that I see businesses and processes and people within those businesses. And it was when I was doing my GCSE maths, we're doing mock exams. And I was in the top set of maths, but I was not top of the class. Like I was maybe like a third of the way down or something. There were people far brighter than me. And they'd just introduced the concept of A stars. So people like saying, are you going to go in for an A star now? Are you going to aim for that? And yeah. And all these people will be talking about it and stuff. I wasn't part of the conversation. I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to go for an A star. And then I remember thinking, and I'm just going to aim to be top of the class as well with this. And I don't know where this next thought came from, but it was, actually, what am I doing? Why don't I just aim for 100%? Why am I holding myself back by trying to be top of the class? The outstanding result achievable here is 100%, and then everything else doesn't matter. That one belief, that shift, changed my thinking, and it made life so much easier. So I remember after that, on reflection, like the teacher would be like teaching a concept in maths. I'm like, you normally sat there thinking, does anyone else not understand this? I'm too embarrassed to put my hand up. I don't want to look stupid. But now, because I had a different goal, I was like, yeah, I don't understand that. Can you explain that again?
Nice.
And they explain it again. Yeah, I still don't understand it. Well, you're going to have to come back at break time then. Okay, cool. Which one? Is it first break, last break? Like, what break do you want me to come? Oh, lunch break. Brilliant. I'll see you there. Like, none of it mattered anymore. It just cut out so much noise because now I had a very clear goal. And I remember going into that exam and I remember the exact feeling and where I was sat in the exam room, getting to the end of it and thinking, I think I've got everything right. I think that is all right. And then a week or two later, Mrs. Witherden was on the blackboard in one of the porter cabins that we were outside on the field. And she was writing all the results, how many people have got B's, C's, A's, A stars. And then she said, but someone has got a result in this class that no one has ever got in this school before. Someone has got and she wrote 100% and circled it. And everyone was going, I bet it's Andrew Dobbins, I bet it's Charlotte Fowler. Like everyone, and I was just sat at the back of the class, just quietly thinking, I think it's going to be me. And she just went, it's James Ashford. And everyone turned to me, and I just kept my gaze fixed on her, and I was just smiling. And I did it again 3 times throughout my maths exams. When I got to uni, for my degree, I got 93% for my degree. And I became really good friends with one of the tutors, and we used to go drinking together afterwards. And years later, after he'd left the university, he said, I've got a confession to make. He says, you never got 93%, you got 100% in your degree. He said, but we'd never given that mark before. We didn't know what implications it would have for us. We thought we'd like get investigated because who can get that mark? We thought you'd be happy with 93%. And it's just the idea of, it's not mixing this up with perfectionism, because like I said, perfectionism often comes from a position of fear and trying to avoid criticism. It's saying, what is the very best that can be achieved in this situation? Just to be actually aware of that. What is outstanding? What is the most incredible customer experience that I can get? Not what is a good experience, not what is a good experience for someone visiting an accountancy firm, but what's the best experience of a top 5-star hotel that a customer would get? Why can't I bring that into my accountancy firm? Like, not trying to send a proposal out that's good because I've got it out in 3 days rather than a week. What's the best experience that we could possibly achieve here for the customer and for the business and for the team member as well? So it's about making that connection to the ultimate and to do what you can and what makes commercial sense to achieve that.
Are you ready for quick fire?
I'll do quick fire now, sorry.
So if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I think just keep going. Just have the confidence to keep going. When you grow in your business, you always think that you're winging it and you feel like an imposter and you feel that the bigger companies know more than you. And then when you get into them bigger companies, you realise that no one knows what the f*** you're doing. We're all winging it. So just trust yourself enough. Keep growing, and it'll be okay.
Amazing. And then what's one belief or habit or rule that you wish you'd unlearned earlier?
I think one of the things to unlearn earlier is to get out of your own way faster. And what I mean by that is, there's a really good book called Multipliers. And in that book, you learn where you're an accidental diminisher. So you can become an accidental diminisher of your team, whereby you step in to solve a problem that they could perhaps solve if they were left to it, but you know you can solve it quicker. But in doing so, you diminish them and prevent them from ever solving problems. And what you do is you train them to come to you to solve the problem, and then you get pissed off with them because they're always f***ing you. Why don't they fix it themselves? You train them to do that. Because that CC'd email that you keep getting messaged in, you're the first to respond. So why on earth is anyone going to respond? They're going to wait for you to respond. And in a meeting, you're the first to give the answer, and everyone just learns to shut up and wait for you to say it. So you've got to learn to get out of their way, allow them to fail, and to move into the position of a mentor to help them to get up to where you are, rather than stepping in and solving it. Because let's say they could solve it at 70% and you can solve it at 90%. Because you've taken so much on, you're actually solving it at 0%. So you're better off solving it, getting them to solve it at 70, and then mentoring them to solve it at 74, 78, 83, etc.
What's the best investment that you've ever made of money, time, or energy?
Energy is a really key one. People overlook energy. They talk about money and time a lot, time management, money management. People don't talk about energy management. It's absolutely critical. And the biggest thing you can do with energy is to cut out the dickheads. It's just to remove people, the people that are absolute drains. Like, I talk to people and they'll be whinging about someone in their life, a friend, a family member, a team member, or whatever. And I'm like, you've just expelled, for the last 2 hours, you've just expelled all this energy on that situation, rather than we could have been talking about marketing strategies or sales strategies or business growth or whatever. And if you're doing that with me, you're doing it with your wife, you're doing it with this person as well. So you've got to really manage energy and not be afraid to remove people. Like, you've got to be harsh and don't let them think that you're just ignoring them. Like, actively ring them and say, I will never speak to you ever again after this conversation because of this. Now do one. So it's not to be afraid of that. I have not actually answered your question, which is the best investment of energy.
I liked that answer, though.
It's a good answer. I think that the books, certainly early on when I was in my absolute studying phase, attending great conferences,
Yeah.
reading great books, and really committing them and studying them with the view of implementing. That's what I've been very good at. So like Daniel Priestley's got oversubscribed Key Person of Influence. Like I read the Key Person of Influence book where he says forge partnerships, write a book, share content, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'll go do it. But how many people have taken that book, then done his Key Person of Influence course and never written a book? I'd done it within 2 weeks. I'd written the book. So actually taking action off that. But the number one thing, my greatest investment is into my kids and taking them to and from school, like I say, every single day. I still do it now. I don't need to, but I still do it now. Attending every sports day and trying to be there for them as much as possible. That's probably the thing that I'm most proud of, is seeing how they are as just well-rounded characters.
Right now, what does success look like for you? Because that changes, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's 2 areas, which is growth and contribution.
Nice.
So are you growing? Am I growing at a good rate? And I think after the sale, I thought I'd got there, wherever there is, and I stopped growing and couldn't realise, I didn't understand why I was losing confidence. And I think it's because I'd stopped growing and evolving. So I've got back into that and kind of restored confidence and connected confidence to my intentions in terms of what I'm doing. And then the other part is, I think, to the extent that you are helping others and inspiring others, working with others and helping others. And I think that's how I will be measured by myself, in terms of like I don't need any more cash. I don't need to build another business. I don't feel the need to prove myself. I've got to where I need to be. It's now how can I help other people, the right people, on that journey as well, to achieve their level of success and to help them to navigate through the challenges of that and what comes beyond as well. So I think that it's down to that. And I need to do more. I'm writing my book, but I've written the intro of this book about literally 20 times. And then yesterday it became 3 books. I'm like, just get them finished, just please, but I know that I need to do that just to pass on my learnings fully. But doing this is great, as a means of sharing some bits, but I know I can go deeper.
That's amazing. Do you have one unsung hero? Do you have someone that actually helped shape your journey?
Lots of people along the way, and it's been quite an interesting. I have been through the process of kind of identifying all the people, or as many people as possible, that just one that you met and they gave you this lesson or they steered you this way, right back from being young. And so there's lots of people that I've tried to credit and go and talk to. My mum and dad were hugely influential from a work ethic point of view. They work for businesses. They never set up their own companies or anything like that. But to see a work ethic and to understand the standard that you have to operate at, and to do more than you get paid for, and you'll eventually get paid more than what you do. But maybe my gran, just from her view of life, she had one of her children had died when she'd lost 2 husbands. She'd had a triple heart bypass. She was in a wheelchair towards the end of her life. And if you went to see her and you said, "How are you feeling?" she'd always say, "With my hands, how are you?" And that was it. You never heard anything else. There was never a whinge, never a complaint, and just a great spirit. And I think I've brought that in. And one of the things that I've done when we've hit challenges in the business, and we did hit some big challenges on the way, is just to ask the question, where is the gift?
What's one line you say to yourself when things get tough?
That.
What
is the gift? And if you force yourself to look for it, you will find it. And I won't go into detail now because I know we're in the quickfire section. But as a business owner, you're always trying to figure out what can go wrong. One big thing for us that we couldn't have predicted it, and it just came on an idle Tuesday afternoon, and someone just sent me a message, said, "Have you seen that email I've just sent you?" And I read it. I'm like, "Fuck." And it potentially meant that we were going to lose 25% of all GoProposal customers. The market was about to be reduced significantly, and that was just going to be the start. It was going to get worse and worse. And I could have easily got annoyed with what had just happened because it was what the competitor had done. It seemed anti-competitive. Like, I could have expelled energy in that direction. I could have pursued them legally. Maybe, I don't know. But I could see the direction I was heading in there, and I stopped and said, "Where's the gift?" And I just got this sense of calm. Where's the gift in this? And for 2 days, I asked the question, and I found it. And rather than lose any customers at all, rather than diminish the market, we developed a new product, and within a few months was making, I think, 10 grand more extra a month because of the product we developed, increased the market, increased the valuation of the business when we came to sell it. And it was all because of that thing. And in business, there's so much that's out of your control that can happen that you're not aware of, and it can just blindside you. But there's three things that's always in your control, which is the decision to decide, what am I going to focus on? What does it mean? And what am I going to do about it? All those things are always within your control, even when things are seemingly going against you. And the ability to recognise that which you can control and to ask yourself, where is the gift, puts you in a state of gratitude and allows you to grow from there.
That's amazing. Now, on this wall behind me, I eventually want to get all the quotes that podcast guests have said and that they'd have on their wall, or they think should be on a business owner's wall. Is yours that? Where is the gift? Or is there something else that you would have as a motto?
We had some really strong core values, and I think any of them could stand. Always operate above the line was a key one, which is about accepting responsibility for everything, you know, and that was absolutely key. So always stay above the line. Yeah. Always.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I think I've taken even more out of this again today, and I'm fired up to go and put some more into action. So I think from that focus on exceptional and beyond, and the fact that you've had that since you were a child as well, has been incredible to hear. And no, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you're doing here. I know that to do this, to put this on, is a huge expense and a huge amount of time. And I know why you're doing this, to be able to draw lessons from people for yourself and to be able to share with other entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurship is super hard. So I know that, you know, what you're doing is for wonderful reasons, and just give yourself, I want to give you credit for doing this as well, because, you know, people might see the shiny video or the glitz thing and that, you know, whatever, but it's just a tremendous amount of effort for wonderful reasons. So thank you for what you're doing here and for inviting me and your other guests on as well.
Oh, thank you, James. It is. It's the purpose, isn't it? It's wanting to give back.